Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us for another video here at Creating with Your Spiritual Universe. And I'm your host, Roger Baines. Today, we're really going to talk about what I think is, I don't know if there's a more important subject, especially for today. And this particular subject is so important that I wanted to go out to everyone out there because this is the key. And today the subject is about the heart, the true heart. And the heart is the key to consciousness growing. The heart is where your spirit, your eternal self dwells. This is where you are completely free of outside projections. The heart is the only thing that is completely free of this matrix. It cannot be tampered with. It cannot be manipulated. Except for one thing, it can be shut down. You can be influenced into shutting it down, or it can be shut down. But that is completely in your control once you're aware. And I'm hoping that this video, I'm not going to hope. My deepest desire is for this video to reach those who are wondering about certain things, are wondering about opening their hearts, are afraid to because they don't want to get hurt, or for whatever reason. And I want to encourage and offer a way to open your heart so that you can become that which you have always wanted to become, because it's all in the heart. And to encourage you that there are ways to open your heart without the fears that you may have now for doing so. And this is so important because this is how you are trapped into the system and looped in. If you have a closed heart, you're coming right back to this matrix. If you have a closed heart, you can only get to a certain place. And there are many who are awake and on the path and doing their darndest to do everything that they need. And the one struggle that they have is with the heart. And I really want to reach out to those people because you've made such great strides. You've gone through so much, and then this one thing is so difficult. And I want to point out that it's not completely your fault as to why this is. This is not a subject that's spoken about a lot. Everyone talks about the heart and opening your heart and living in the heart, through the heart, and of the heart. And those things are all true. But then there are those of us who have issues with the heart, and there are very little answers for the questions that you may have. And I'm hoping, and it's my deepest desire. See, language is important. I don't want to use the passive language because I feel very strongly about the heart and the way to opening it. And I want to bring that knowledge through because it is something that I've had to do and something that many have had to do. And we want to share that with all those who are ready to open their heart, or even those who want to but just don't know how because they just, the fear of being hurt or the fear of whatever it is that could happen that you have, whether it's true or false, it doesn't matter. If you have that fear or something is preventing you from living in your heart, opening your heart, it's real. And I really want to help to address that today. So let us start off by talking about why hearts are closed. Why the fear of living through the heart? Why everything everything can be given, everything is done except for the heart. And I want to start off by saying you live through the heart for you. You live through the heart for your own advancement, and it then will filter out. Okay, so I don't want people to think that, oh, you live by the heart and then you just hand it out to everyone, to do with as they please or to hurt. No, your heart is to be opened, not for others. Your heart is to be open for you. And if it is closed, it is not only closed off to others, it is closed off to you. And it's restricting you from making leaps and bounds. It'll slow you down. It'll keep you stagnant. It'll put you in places where you wonder what's going on, what happened. Okay? So here, let's talk about a little history behind why and how the heart has been closed and the agenda to do so from those who control and run this reality that we're in. Because there's one thing they don't want. They don't want people to start opening their hearts, because that's the end of the road. Forget about all the other stuff. Forget about everything else. You open up your heart, boom, you're done with this matrix. You're done with being controlled. You're done with you're immune to the mechanisms that they use to control and drive and manipulate. Because the heart is the one thing that they cannot control. They cannot control. That is where your spirit resides, your higher self, your deep self, whatever you refer to, however you refer to yourself, your inner self. It's in the heart. And so that is where your source self resides. That is why they cannot control that. But whether it's opened or closed is our choice. And we're often influenced into closing it. That's the main goal and target here, to close it. Or things are placed that if we're not in the right frame of being, they will cause our heart to close, and we don't have to do it ourselves. They will cause it to close. But again, we are not helpless in this regard. We are not helpless in this regard. And this video is going to point out exactly what we can do to take care of that. Now, when this particular reality was being constructed and human beings, the human form was being manipulated and tampered with genetically in our history, as the hermetic, the books on hermetics and the ancients have talked about, one of the things they did is they wanted us separated from our hearts. They wanted us to be separated from our hearts. That was the number one objective. And this was done, and what they wanted us to do, and they were very successful at doing it, because otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it today, is they restricted us to just our emotional aspects. So the emotional aspects are supposed to work with the heart, the mind. It's all supposed to work in unison. But by separating us and just distilling us down to our emotional aspect, and then tuning that into the fake reality that we're now in, they're able to manipulate us. So they tune us into the fake reality, they pump up the ego, and through the ego, we are controlled, and our emotions are driven to and fro according to what they need to keep this reality going. Because this reality runs on the energy of the collective consciousness of humanity. So if you look at the collective consciousness of humanity as an energy, they have placed this reality on top of it, because we're master super creators. We think of things and they happen. We are energy generators of all kinds of energy. So they set this reality on it to power it from the collective consciousness of humanity to allow them to control us so they can use that energy to run their reality and feed. And all this as a go around because they've disconnected themselves from Source Creator and the Universal Mother. And so they have to find a way to get energy in alternative ways and routes. And this is one of the way that they access source energy because we are source. We are many sources with a small g. And this is how they get their energy. But we're not here for that. Let them go back to source and become independent. And we're not here to support any kind of parasitic reality or beings. They need to figure it out on their own and not through our enslavement. And the heart is what is key to our freedom. It is the key to keeping us, for them to keep us enslaved, while it's the same key for liberating us and making us true and truly free from within, and not what's written in some constitution or book or what someone says on a podium. So there are other mechanisms that are then placed within this reality, within the path of every human being, to encourage you to shut down your heart. You trust someone and they betray your trust. And it's a very painful thing. That's one of the biggest ways. And it starts off early because that trust starts off with your parents. And if they betray your trust, boom, that shuts your heart down right away. If they don't take care of your needs, they don't give you the love that you require as a child, the basic necessities that you require of the child, and they can. Because as a child, if your parents are trying and they just can't because of the circumstances or situation, but you see that it would be taken care of if they were able to because they constantly try, that doesn't shut your heart down. That actually grows your heart because you see how much they love you. But if they can and they don't, that is one definite way to shut the heart down. It'll shut your heart down. You won't trust anybody because that's how things started for you. And then it goes on. If it doesn't happen there, then it's in relationships or friendships. Doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. Oh no, they're not going to restrict it to that. It could be a regular friend that you've had, that you've trusted. You did a lot of things together, and suddenly that friend does something that hurts you so badly that you cannot even stand to see or think of them. So those things are placed there. And don't think that those things just happen, people. They are planned and implemented and placed within your path so that you do the very thing that they want you to do, which is shut down. And it'll keep coming until you shut your heart down. Unless you're a person that's aware and you work on yourself and you see things and your spirit guides you and you see things coming, or if they happen, you take the because when the situations occur, when the heartbreaks occur, you have a choice. You can evaluate the situation and I'll give an example. You have a very good friend or a lover and they betray you. There are two sides of the coin. You can go, oh, I now learned the lesson of where to put my trust and my love and where not to. But I am not going to stop loving. And this, I mean, the other day it happened to me where someone did something. I trusted them to do something and they did the opposite. And I remembered, through my studies and through my guidance, and I said, you know what? This is why you shouldn't trust people. And then I stepped back. I said, uh-uh. This is why, and I changed it to, this is why you should take the time, be prudent to find out who you should trust. Take time to connect with your spirit, yourself. Connect with them to find out if they can be trusted. And if you're connected to your spirit and you're connected to your heart, they will never lie. They will always guide you. Now, if you say, well, I do that and then it still happened, that's because the ego is involved and in charge there. And that can be manipulated. But in this video, we're going to, and I'm also going to create a meditation. Now, it's not going to be long, a technique to melt away those things that are blocking you from your heart, and then connecting you to your spirit and connecting everything together. And so that you start to begin the process to connect to your spirit through your heart so that you can start opening your heart. Okay? So there is a way. And it's a way that you must do, because you will not go anywhere with a closed heart. You cannot go to any higher. People say, I want to ascend to the fifth dimension. No, there's no closed hearts up there. Not on the light side of the fifth dimension, there isn't. You know what I'm saying? This is where you do the work. You're here to do that kind of work. And there are teachers that are in love with humanity, like myself, who will do everything and anything in their power to see us back to our original intended states of being. Okay. Another way that they shut your heart, they shut your heart down is, hey, none of that could, you could not, you could have a great life. Your heart is open and you love everyone, and you've got the prudence and the judgment to really, really, really see things coming, and your level and your heart gets shut down. And the reason for that is that you can have your heart shut down without your doing it. And again, I like to mention people who are out there. I like to call people out or mention them when they are malevolent towards humanity. But I also like to call out and praise and lift up those who are doing the work to liberate humanity. And I've mentioned her name a few times before. I have, because a lot of her work is spot on. She talks about, and she tells her story about what happened with her heart. This is Laura Lee Mystica. And I'll put her link again down below. And in 2008, she talks about things that are called plates, blocks, and insulators. And they're placed within your being. These are etheric constructs. They're etheric implants. Place it within the portion energetically your neck and down at your waist that cuts you and separates you. And suddenly and these kinds of things, your heart, you all of a sudden, things in nature that you considered beautiful are no longer that big of a deal. You look at a flower. You ever see a child, they look at a flower, you check your child. I want you to go, when you go to the beach next time, if you live near water, lake, beach, water, and watch every child. There's no child moping around the water. There's no child moping on the beach. They're running in the water. They're jumping up and down. They are loving the energy. They can feel the energy. They're embraced by the ocean because their hearts are open, and they can feel things, the love of nature. And so That's what the matrix doesn't want. And as soon as they get a little older, things will happen to tune them into this fake reality, and suddenly all that stuff won't be as beautiful as it was when they were a child. And that's what they do to us. So you will, and suddenly you're like, what happened? I don't know. I have had many clients before I learned this. They're riding high. They're making strides. They're reaching leaps of consciousness. Suddenly, boom! Nobody knows what happened. And this is important to know. This is important to know. The heart gets shut down. And so now we know of the ways that the heart gets shut down, we can start to talk about how to solve it. Because it gets shut down once you know it's simple, it gets shut down through circumstances in life, we've just mentioned a few, and it can get shut down for you through etheric blocks and insulators placed within your energetic being, in your being energetically. Now, I'm big on language because language tells us a lot, right? And so in our language, we even have it in our language where they've placed it. So we have it because language programs the mind. Language programs your mind. That's why language is very important. And I'm going to do a video on language. Okay. You hear things like the heart is considered foolish. Only a fool does things by the heart. Yeah. That's a way to block you away from heart living and from living in the heart. When you're doing this, you use the mind, but when you're doing that, you use the heart. Oh yeah, so you categorize when you use the heart and when you use the mind. You should be using both at all times. Both at all times. Or you hear the term, and these are just a few. You hear the term, your heart is too big. Yeah, that happened to him because his heart is too big. Or her heart is too big. Blaming someone living in the heart, blaming living in the heart for something that happens to someone when it has nothing to do with that. So the heart takes all the blame, even though it might be something else. Maybe you didn't take all the steps to look into the situation. That's not hard. So we even have this constructed in our language, and we see it in every way, shape, and form. We even refer to as love. Oh, love. Oh, I'm in love with that person from the heart. When most of the time, it's a trick. It's more of a clingy wanting. It has conditions, and if those conditions are not met, see you later. That's not something that comes from the heart. And the heart connects you to who and what you should be with. Okay? The heart doesn't put you in situations where you're with someone that you shouldn't be with. That's something else that's doing that. Okay? The heart, where your spirit, your source self resides. If you decide to live a life from the heart, which is the same as being connected to your spirit, connected to your source self, connected to source, connected to our divine creator, you're not going to make the types of decisions that are going to be crippling to you. Life will still happen. I'm not saying you're all of a sudden going to be living in euphoria and living in perfect. Life will still happen, but you will always find your way back, and very quickly. And very quickly. I want to add, I know I just did the previous video on the chakras. I want to add that one of the reasons why I do not remove chakras is because when you remove them, I think if you recall in the video, and I recommend you go check it out. If you recall in the video, We talked about different things that are left back when you remove them. They're sort of set booby traps when you actually go in to remove them, as opposed to integrating them. When you integrate them, which is what I do with clients in my practice, I integrate them. I remove nothing. And when you integrate them, none of those booby traps occur. One of the things that they do when you remove your chakras is the three energy centers, the one in the head, the heart, and loins. The one in the heart controls everything. They have all kinds of contraptions to shut that down. So if you have your chakras removed, that is something that you're going to have to also make accommodations for, watching for that. And if you have them done by someone, you need to ask them about those issues. Plates, blocks, and insulators being taken out, sludge being produced to slow down the cycles per second, and to basically grunge up the system, or the plates to shut the heart down. Those are all things that happen that basically trigger reactions for you removing your chakras. So unless you have someone that's going to be doing all of that, making sure they do the let's just say post-surgical work, then you shouldn't have anyone working on you that way. If you integrate them, naturally, there's protection, and none of those things can be done to you. None of them. Okay? So that is the one warning I want to give people is if you have your chakras taken out by a professional, then they must also do the post-surgical work as well. Absolutely necessary. So this is extremely important to do. So now, how do we open the heart? It's methodical, first of all. It's slow. It's gradual. It's gentle. That's how you open the heart. That's sort of, I'm just giving sort of the rhythm through which you open the heart. Okay? Slow, gentle, methodical. This is one of the things that we do here at Creating with Your Spiritual Universe, helping folks to open up the heart. So if you feel guided, contact us. You can email us at cwysu2@gmail.com, cwysu2@gmail.com, and we can work with you if you feel guided. Now, the first step in opening the heart is to remove the walls that have been placed there, the insulators. Whether you have placed them or they've been placed there, we gradually remove them. Gradually. And opening the heart for many people, it's not something that can be done by the individual most of the time, because one of the traps is that you're blinded from where to go, or where it is, or what to do. But if you're not, and you feel free, go ahead, start the work. And if you're stuck, then get a hold of a professional. Okay, there's some of us that just work on removing heart walls. There are practitioners that's the only thing they do. And I bless their souls because their work is so important. We also do that here at Creating with Your Spiritual Universe. And we remove the heart wall gently. Gently. And some people, one appointment and everything's removed. And some people take several appointments, because we do it according to each and every individual, and you remove the walls slowly and gently. Every single one, until all the walls are removed. Because the walls are there, if you've put them up based on pain, that was actually a good thing. That is actually a good thing, because you need to protect yourself while you're healing. So the walls are placed. After the healing is done, after the integration time is complete, then those walls are no longer needed. They start working against you. It's called the law of diminishing returns. In the beginning, everything is great. But as time goes on and you heal, even if you do nothing, your heart will heal. Even if you do nothing, if you simply leave it be without assaulting it, without it getting assaults from the outside, it'll heal itself. Then the walls are there to protect that healing process. After it's healed, now the walls start working against you. After a certain amount of time, they start blocking things that should be coming in to assist you. Being able to appreciate the little things in life become very difficult with those walls. You become bitter and sour on life because you're not having fun. You're not having joy and pleasure in your life. Life becomes a misery. Then you resort to substances to take you out of this reality and out of the pain and out of the numbness. So that's what those walls will do for you if they're left there and not taken away once the healing is complete. So you want to get rid of your heart, the walls and your heart walls. And you will notice a huge difference just with that one stroke of healing. Okay? And then the next thing you want to do is release the emotional trauma situations and circumstances that cause it. Now, you do not have to relive. Just remember, you do not have to relive the circumstances. You do not have to remember who, when, what, where. As a matter of fact, that is absolutely not important. And if you go back to that, you might just shut the whole process down because you don't want to relive it. And the truth is, you don't have to. And that is one of the deceptions. And even in psychology today, oh, tell me what happened. You go to a psychologist. Let's go through the whole situation, relive it so we can release it. No, you don't. I work with people all the time, and I encourage them not to tell me about their situation. I've worked with people who've been raped. I've worked with people who've been abused. You name it. The first thing I say to them, you do not have to relive that situation. We can release that from you. You can release that without ever having to go through it again. And when you release it, it's not as if you don't remember it. You forget it and it's gone. That's not what happens. You do remember it, but it's just not significant anymore. Does not hold the power over you anymore. Does not hold the influence. Does not drag you down into depression, sadness, and grief all of the time. It just doesn't have that power on you. So you distill the lessons of the situation, of the experience, and you get rid of the garbage that it brought in. The emotions, the low vibrational emotion, the pain, the suffering, those things are released. And so you distill it down to the lessons, and then that brings more prudence, good judgment, intelligence, and allows you to connect closer to your heart, because your heart will tell you when something is not good for you. Okay, and ironically, when your heart is blocked, when you're kept all that pain, it doesn't protect you. You just are drawn because it brings you into the vibrational match with itself. Those circumstances, those situations make you a vibrational match for more pain, more abuse, and more of the same. And you end up isolating yourself and isolating yourself even more so, which is exactly what these controllers want. And so it'll even come to the point where we'll say, well, you have to isolate, protect yourself, or otherwise this will happen. And now you're completely shut down from the life you're supposed to live. And then they get to feed on you. Okay? So that's the second thing, releasing all of that. Right? And the third thing you want to do, and while we're doing that, the third thing does not really happen. So I'm not being linear here. The third thing does not happen number 3. I'm bringing it up because it could happen anytime. When I work with people, when we work with people here, we try to incorporate as many things simultaneously so that it's easier. So we start connect. The third thing we're talking about is connecting to your spirit, your higher self, your divine self. And we start that at the very beginning, along with the heart wall removal, so that you, at your eternal self, is involved in every step. And in every procedure, we strengthen that connection and we teach you how to strengthen it because we want you to be independent in your own healing. And everything here is a co-creative effort. We want people involved in their own healing process. You might need a hand, but no one knows you better than you. So the connecting to your heart, the connecting to your spirit, your divine self, is something that happens every time. And then as you can make that connection, we strengthen the cohesion of that. And then we teach you and show you how to maintain it and how to see the signs of progression as well as the signs of things that you may want to avoid. And those are the major 3 steps in opening the heart. Removing the heart walls, releasing the traumas, the situations, the emotions that no longer serve, and connecting to your deep self, your spirit, your inner self, your higher self, however you want to, call that. And once you do that, you'll start to see a different you come to the fore. And you'll get a little pushback. But here we also defend you. We also we also teach you psychic self-defense so that you can defend yourself. So that you can defend yourself against any and all attacks. Okay, so this is these are the keys to opening the heart. And the heart is the key to everything that you desire in your life. The key to awakening and reaching higher levels of awakening and consciousness. The major key to manifestation is the heart. So if you're having trouble bringing things into your life, take a look at your heart and see if it's closed. Because if it's closed, you're going to have a hard time manifesting the type of reality that'll bring you joy, love, and peace in this world. So thank you so much. I hope this was very helpful. And my desire is that it really was. And until the next video, remember to defy the taboo against finding out who you really are.